Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Well, today something at the Orlando airport is happening that is very, very troubling. And I am really honored to have with us today Bishop Aubrey Shines. He is the founder of Glory to Glory Ministries. He's also part of one of the 7 founders of the International Communion of Evangelical Churches organization, which is headed up by Bishop Harry Jackson, which we had on the program several weeks ago. So Bishop Shines, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Perry, and great to be with you guys.
Yeah, good to see you today. Well, listen, this whole thing in Orlando's got me on tilt. And for those who are hearing it for the first time, apparently our tax dollars are paying for a mosque to be built there.
Well, it doesn't shock me. Unfortunately, Perry, we had no idea this was kind of something under the radar that they kind of stuck. I mean, can you imagine the audacity that the media would have if we found out, for instance, a Jewish synagogue was built or an evangelical area? And here's the real reality, Perry. There was and has been, even since 1983, there's already been an interfaith area of the airport that actually housed anyone that has any faith and they wanted to pray. So again, this is once again, here we are as a nation capitulating to what is no more than an Islamic mob. It's ridiculous, it's absurd, and you know what? It's really a travesty that's going on right now in this great state.
Well, you know, I'm glad to hear you speak out on this, Bishop, because, and I know that others are too, but for the most part, it's still under the radar. And you're absolutely right. We have these interfaith chapels at hospitals. We have them at the airport. And now our tax dollars are going to segregate one faith out from the other and make it superior by giving its own place of worship?
Well, it's absurd. Again, can you imagine those that have more of a liberal, their whole ideology would be shattered if they found out, for instance, that we had a evangelical temple exclusive outside of the interfaith that's already there. And I think what a lot of people are really missing, Perry, in my opinion, the majority of the Arab Emirates you're talking about 80 to about 95% that are Sunnis. Now, these are the same group of Islamists that chant death to America, death to Israel. And we're funding this. This is an absolute outrage. And again, if we're going to always have an intellectual conversation in this nation, leadership starts from the top. And unfortunately, we're not seeing that right now in this great nation. And this is why, Perry, we're living in my opinion, the most divisive time that we've been in America. This is, again, a travesty.
I want to do a show with you just on that question right there. But let me ask you this. Even Franklin Graham spoke out against this.
I love that he did. And again, Franklin Graham obviously echoes my heart and so many others' hearts on this issue. This would be, Perry, an outrage. I mean, the media, they would choose this as their eating frenzy if this were a Jewish synagogue. And again, I just said this on a TV show and a radio show let's say in the last few hours or so. I had a gentleman that really opposed everything that I said and I did on this issue. And I said, look, can you imagine for just a moment that there's a Jewish synagogue or some sort of Christian-based organization in any of the Arab Emirate airports? It'll never happen. And once again, we in America, we are capitulating to this idea that some kind of way, if we just are more friendly towards those that hate us, that some kind of way they're going to come around and they're going to like us. It doesn't work that way. It's not what is taught in Islam. I know, I teach it, I've been trained in it, and I'm telling you, America's in a bad moral place right now. It's time for new leadership. It's time for Christians to awake, pastors to awake, leave their pulpits. Let's get involved. Let's get this great nation back, Perry.
All right, so have you done any investigation, pulled the onion layer skins back to find out how in the world the tax dollars got approved to do this?
No, we're being blocked on every side. They have almost like some sort of card game going that the moment you pull one, there's another that pops up. What we were able to find out, however, is that the airport's own line, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here when I say this, that, well, it's not really tax dollars. It's just the taxes from the people that are coming in and out of the airport. Well, the last time I checked, those are state and some federal dollars that are involved. So again, there is obviously a push from the Arab Emirates to make sure that they don't and cannot be, and here's the real deal, they don't want to be in any room where there are Jews. They don't want to be in any room where there are Christians. And this is why this was pushed. This was a money issue to make sure they have their own separate area that they can do what they want to do. But again, this is America. Since early 80s, there was already interfaith areas that everyone could kind of congregate, pray if they wanted to pray, be quiet if they wanted to be quiet, silent, meditate, etc. It's not enough because Islam is not tolerant of any other than themselves.
All right, let's go to the spiritual core of this, Bishop. It appears now that we are in a spiritual war in America for the heart and soul of America. And I don't know if the Christian church is awakened to this issue or afraid to get involved. What's your take?
I think the latter. I think they're really afraid. You'd be shocked. I'm very, very privileged here in Tampa. I actually pastor 23 different ethnic groups. But what I'm finding, especially from some of my friends across the aisle, various states, various ethnicities that I go, what I'm hearing is this. You know, we would get involved, but man, we really don't want to offend some of our congregation. You know, we could probably lose a percentage of our congregation. What would the community say if we began to speak out? I thought, oh my God, I thought this is what being called to the gospel and being a leader was actually all about. It's time for an awakening. I'm really praying that a new generation of Joshuas would kind of rise up and say, you know what, we're not going to take this. We're not going to allow this great nation founded on fantastic principles, you know what, to be decimated simply because of the element of PC that's going around in this nation. No, there's a lot of spiritual, what I call cowards that are out there. They're afraid to trumpet their sound and really, really have a clear clarion voice on these cultural issues. Perry, it's destroying America. And if we don't get this and correct this yesterday, our nation's in trouble.
All right, so you add the Islamic threat that's coming to us now that our tax dollars would accommodate them. You add to that the Supreme Court's decision on same-sex marriages and now how pulpits are going to be monitored. We broadcasters, Christian broadcasters, we already know what's coming at us. And then you add on top of that what's happened with Planned Parenthood and these videos showing the unbelievable act that's happening inside these abortion clinics. I mean, all three of those are spiritually based issues, and they've been politicized, and we're abandoning them.
Well, not only we're abandoning them, here's where I think it's just heart-wrenching for me. And we've been producing videos, sending them primarily to Black and Hispanic pastors to say, listen, you guys don't want to talk about politics. You better talk about politics. This notion that leaders cannot talk about politics from the pulpit, it's absurd. And the reason it's absurd, think about this, and I'm doing a video, we're in the studio tonight trying to really kind of finish this product up. Can you imagine, Perry, for just a moment, that when the Supreme Court, during the Dred v. Scott decision, claimed, according to their decisions, blacks were not human. They're no more than property. Imagine had the white Quaker church been silent. Guess what? We never would have had a 14th Amendment. Imagine Martin Luther King only staying in the church, but never discussing some of the atrocities in America that did not just affect blacks, by the way, it affected humanity. Imagine had he been silent, Perry, we would still be living in some prehistoric age had not the white Quakers and guys like Dr. King really left the pulpit and said, you know what, we're salt, we're light. Let's transform America. We can do better. And this is what I'm doing right now. And again, this may not be politically correct for your viewers, but I've been challenging especially Black and Hispanic leaders to look at the history of the Democratic Party, a party that had bought them slavery, Jim Crow laws, Roe v. Wade, Planned Parenthood, same-sex marriage. And I'm asking them through videos to make a mass exodus away from any political party that hates Israel, hates traditional marriage, and let's go back to a party, because this is how we're governing in America. Let's go back to a policy that believes in emancipation and liberty for all. By the way, that is the Republican Party, and I think we can do better in America.
Well, you uncork a lot there, Bishop. First of all, are your Black and Hispanic pastors listening to you?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you this, and this is just a fact. A lot of these pastors now that are listening, they're saying this to me, and I know a lot of the top guys in this nation. They're all saying, and I'm kind of quoting here, they all have buyer's remorse. They realize they did not make a better choice in our election for a president. I say to them all the time, you should have adhered to the words of Dr. King when he said, "Don't judge a man based upon the color of his skin, but judge a man based upon the content of his character." I think America's getting it. I think we're awakening. I think whether or not some of these candidates are a horse in the race or not, the reason that some of them are really resonating in America right now is because people in America, they're looking for people that will not be the PC crowd. And I think this is what you're seeing even with some candidates.
One other quick question. It appears there is a division, big time, long, maybe time overdue, within the Republican Party. I think it's healthy. I used to be chairman of the state here in Oregon for 4 years, so I know how this game is played. And the only thing I can tell you is that God's not a Republican.
Right.
But if we just get back to the basic platform of that party, it does spell out beliefs that certainly parallel the Bible. We can't even get Christians to do that. And I don't know, and we can't even get Republicans to do that.
Perry, you're so spot on, man. I tell you, I have so many of my evangelical friends say, hey, you know what? We probably need to get away from the politics. Let's just focus on this. And I think, oh my God, do you guys need a basic civic lesson in America? We must be involved in the politics. And I remind them of the words of Moses in the Old Testament. Did not his father-in-law Jethro remind him? Jethro, he says to Moses, look, select men, appoint men, elect men that will have the same moral fiber, character, that understands the covenants, and let's make sure that these men rule. Guess what? That's a God idea. We live in a republic, and we can't divorce ourselves from parties. You know what we're really doing when we do that, Perry? We're trying to be politically correct. We don't want to really take a side. Well, guess what? I take a side. I cannot support any party that is against traditional marriage. I cannot support any party that hates Israel. I cannot support a party that would do things of that magnitude. And guess what? It only leaves me one other party. And for me not to champion that party, I think I would be a bad steward not to do it. I'm trying to awaken other leaders to have the same mind, be open, think about it, and let's get on the right side. Let's get on God's side. Now, if there's another party that comes along, I don't care if it's the Bugs Bunny party. If they do a better job at espousing biblical truths, then that's the party we need to be a part of. But Perry, we cannot divorce ourselves from the political dynamic that is set in America. We got to get involved. We got to get our nation back.
Bishop, you're an inspiration. I don't know what you put on your cereal in the morning, but I want some of it. Thank you. Let's hook up again soon. By the way, his website is glorytoglory.org. Glorytoglory.org. Thank you, Bishop. Let's hook up again, okay?
Hey, I look forward to it. You guys have a great one.
All right, you too. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
All right, welcome back. And of course, what is 1 week from today? You hear all the parents cheering and jumping up and down and having a house party? Yes, school starts. And what a delight to have with us today, Danny Huerta. Am I saying that right, Danny?
You said that well, yes.
Okay, thank you. He's with Focus on the Family. He's one of the counselors there, and the whole organization does a wonderful job. We're going to talk to him today a little bit about parents beware, what you may overbook yourself as kids get back to school. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to see you guys.
Listen, so extracurricular activities, you're pretty concerned about that.
Absolutely. I think we overschedule, and with a lot of good intentions involved in that. But it starts to eat up our family time, and And really, the schedule begins to dictate life rather than us as parents dictating life.
As we get back to school, of course, there's a lot of things on the table. You have the school activities, you have church activities. What advice do you have in properly selecting them?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, there's activities, so many great activities out there. I like families to put together a wants list, having the kids write down, what is it that you're wanting? And a lot of times there's this idea that there are some shoulds involved. You know, I should be involved in basketball, I should be involved in football, I should be involved in church, when it really is could. I could be involved in this. So with a could, it gives room for no. A should, it kind of demands that you need to do that, and if not, there's something wrong if you don't do it. And so switching the language to could. Here are the things we could do. What are we wanting as a family? What are we wanting to do? What are we wanting for our family? Leading a discussion around that and being intentional as parents with that is very, very important. If parents don't do that, then emotions dictate what the schedule is going to be. So the way that parents can do this is have maybe one family meeting. It'd be more ideal to have it weekly, but if you have one family meeting, maybe getting some ice cream and just making it a real good time, where you come up with what are we wanting to intentionally do as a family, and how can we make this the best home possible since it's the only one we've got. And so we can get involved with so many different great things. And also, let's get involved. We could get very involved within our family and make this a fun place to be together as a family.
You know, often, Danny, kids want to do it all. And so they're going to need some boundaries on how to select. You can say, well, which one you want to do? Well, I want to do basketball. I want to do football. Oh, by the way, I want to go to church Wednesday night. And all of a sudden, the homework falls through the cracks. So how do you help them select the right one?
So that's what that wants list. I think it's good to look at the cost-benefit analysis. You know, what's it costing you time-wise, money-wise, energy-wise, but also with the wants. I mean, if somebody wants to do great in football, they may have to give up wanting to do super well in their academics or in church. I mean, you have to begin to choose and figure out what is the cost to this, not only financially, but time-wise and energy-wise. It's hard to have energy with all of it. It really is. So for kids, it's helping them realize that you're going to have to be comfortable with the word no. You're going to have to say no to something as you look at your wants list. So if they really want to pursue football, you want to say, okay, you know what, football's good. You can develop a lot of discipline. So are academics. How are we going to balance that? What are you going to have to say no to in order to do those well? And helping them realize that you can do some things very well. And if you do too many things, you do them all kind of poorly, and you don't really do things very well on all of them. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if this is a Christian home with Christian values, then what you're wanting to do is, am I doing this for God? Am I doing this for the praise of men? What am I doing this for? What am I wanting this for? If I'm pursuing a great football career, you know, about 1% make that, yet 100% become adults. And so how can you become a great adult? How can you become the best father you can become? How can you enter adulthood with all the tools necessary to do adulthood well? Because it's inevitable. You're going to become not necessarily an NFL football player.
So how do you retain the importance of homework? Because sometimes the activity can preempt the importance of homework. Is homework, you're laughing, but is homework to be an activity? You must be a dad.
I am. That's a responsibility. It really is. And it's just like practice. You know, with my son, he's 12, and I've been so proud of him. He wanted to go into advanced math, and so he had to do a bunch of stuff this summer. And there were moments where we could go out and shoot hoops or do other things because he loves sports. Yet he had to choose what his responsibility was. It didn't feel the most comfortable. And so what I've told my son is, I'm not here to make you happy or to make you feel good. I'm here to help you think well. And so we need to figure out how can you help your mind wrap itself around responsibilities, because that's important. And some of them are just not going to be fun, yet that's what helps you grow. And the purpose of life is not to be happy, it's to grow, because in that growth you find happiness. If you just pursue happiness, you're an immature person that never finds it. And so for him, he's grasped that, he's grabbed onto that. I remember one time with baseball, it was getting more and more intense as far as the requirements for that. He wanted to do basketball, baseball. He was thinking about another sport. And finally we said, hey, let's look at the cost here, because it's also costing your focus on what your responsibilities are. And so we were able to trim it down and see that, hey, we want family time. And he's learned how to guard that. And said, man, Dad, I want to do it this way when I'm older, have time with my kids, have dinner together, because I love this so much. And so he's learned to love that. We try to make our dinners really enjoyable, very connecting, no cell phones, no anything. I remember he brought up one time, he said, hey, Dad, all these kids are in activities and they have cell phones and iPods. When am I going to get one? And I said, well, when you're driving and there's a necessity for it, then that's when you're going to get one. In the meantime, borrow a kid's phone if you're needing to contact us. There's plenty out there, clearly, because you just shared that with me, that everybody else has a phone, so you won't be lacking one if there's an emergency. Otherwise, it's just a want, and right now it's not necessary for your life. And with that trust relationship, we've with us intentionally spending time together, he trusts what I tell him, and things are going very well. My daughter as well, just her trust towards that leadership, and that requires time. And so time is something you cannot buy back, and so you have to intentionally protect it and figure out what you're wanting to accomplish. What do you want your kids to look like when they're 18? And parenting is hard. It takes a lot of energy. And so you want to see where your energy is being expended. And for kids with homework, sit down with them, enjoy it with them, let them know this is like practicing basketball, practicing any sport. You're helping your mind understand and grasp what you're learning so that it makes it easier that, as you grow into the learning process, because you can't get rid of that. You're learning all your life.
Let me say to our viewers and listeners, of course, Focus on the Family, been around for a long time, outstanding organization. Their website is FOTF.org, and there you'll find a lot of resources and some of the things that Danny is sharing with us. Danny, I got about 2 minutes left. Let me ask you a question that's a little off this subject, but very important. As a father and as a counselor, what can you say to parents to be on the lookout if your child's being bullied?
Wow. I would say a kid that is isolating themselves, you're noticing that their appetite has changed, they're becoming depressed and more disconnected, maybe they lack self-confidence, or maybe it comes out in anger. Whatever it is, if there's an extreme change in your child, just check in with them. I really encourage parents to have regular communication, maybe take a walk with your child. With my kids, I love to write them a note. Let them know I'm thinking about them. Would love to hear about their world and what's going on in it. I really want to be attuned and press pause on my own life. And even if it's just sitting next to each other and just relaxing, sometimes words come out then. So look at what changes emotionally are taking place in your child, and make sure you let them know, hey, I'm here, whatever's going on. And if there is bullying, make sure that you help your child understand that you're not there to fix it for them, but let's come up with some ideas, some solutions. Maybe going to the school, letting them know, letting them be aware of what's happening without letting everyone know who shared that, and letting them know that bullying is not okay. This is something that's going on, something toxic is going on in the other person. One of the funny things that I use with teens when there's bullying going on, I'll say, let's pretend you're at a grocery store or somewhere and someone lets one go, right? You have to deal with the smell of that, much like somebody with a bad attitude or bullying. And so there's something wrong inside of them that's spilling into you. So that gives them a sense of compassion and understanding that it's not about them, that there's something wrong with them, that the bully is saying. There's an imposing of a belief system by that bully. Maybe an understanding that that bully is needing intervention and help. And by telling the school officials and other people, maybe they can get the bully the help they need. Just like if somebody has a lot of those toots, they can get some help for their stomach so that they're not invading other people's smell space.
Unbelievable. All right. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for what you do, and everybody that are focused. Give them our best. And again, FOTF.org is the website. It's an incredible resource. FOTF, short for FocusOnTheFamily.org. Thanks, Danny. Keep up the good work, friend.
Hey, one thing that people can call, they can call our counseling line. It's a free call, 1-800-A-FAMILY. They can speak with any of the 13 licensed psychologists, counselors on our line. We'd love to talk to whoever wants to call, and it's from parenting to marriage to everything you can think of, and we'd love to talk to whoever wants to call.
That's right. They take thousands of calls every month. 1-800-A-FAMILY. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. Hey, what a delight to have back with us Megan Barth. She's the founder of the ReaganBaby.com website, an incredible resource. Let me encourage you to check it out, ReaganBaby.com. And the last time we had her on, it was pretty exciting, and we have a lot to talk to her about today. Hi, Megan. How you doing?
Great. Thanks so much for having me back on. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. Hey, well, listen, a couple of things going on. First of all, the vice president is being lured in, I think. The rumor is that he'll hook up with Elizabeth Warren. They have met already. It'll be a ticket right out of the chute of one that President Obama couldn't ignore and would endorse. Now, those are quantum leaps, but you think they're possibilities?
I think it's a strong possibility, Perry. You know, look at the state of the nominees in the Democrat Party right now. You have the frontrunner, Hillary Clinton, who is under FBI criminal investigation. And the latest news from the FOIA requests and the federal judge orders, there was just a document dump last night. And within that document dump, over to date, and just a few hours later, 150 emails are classified. She has serious issues. The Democrat Party has serious PR issues related to this scandal. And when you look at the, up and coming, the second tier candidate, as far as Bernie Sanders is concerned, he's a socialist. So the Democrats are in a quandary. Specifically with these two front runners. And they not only have a PR issue going on, they have an identity crisis. They aren't going to nominate a socialist like Bernie, because then they will expose themselves for exactly who they are. And they will have to adopt every last bit of the socialist platform and run on that platform in order to, win the election. And I don't think that that platform is winnable. So they are going to have to look outside of what their current candidates have, or who their current candidates are. And who better to bridge the gap between the blue dog Democrats and the socialist progressives of the Democrat Party, but Joe Biden? And then who better to capture the steam of the Bernie Sanders phenomenon, who's filling stadiums, tens of thousands of people, than Elizabeth Warren. So it's a twofold for them. They can save themselves to look like moderates with Joe Biden, and then they can capitalize and appease the hardcore left within their party by having Elizabeth Warren on the ticket as well.
All right, so the question will be asked, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist?
Well, that question was asked by the mouthpiece of the DNC, Chris Matthews, and he asked that to the primary mouthpiece of the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and she couldn't answer that question. when you look at the Democrats and how far left they have gone, I believe in their wake of moving so far left, it is similar to the malaise of Carter. So the only president that had Democrats named after him were Reagan. And the reason was because of the policies and the failures of Carter. Now we have Barack Obama, who has moved the party so far left on some wedge issues such as abortion, immigration, as well as the amount of spending this administration has done. He has doubled the debt in 7 years. This left wing of the Democrat Party does not necessarily represent every Democrat. So you have a lot of affected Democrats that are looking for a home. And what's interesting, Perry, is that I was watching C-SPAN, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and Trump was speaking to the audience off the cuff, of course, no teleprompter. And all the phone lines are lighting up from, the Democrats, independents, and the Republicans. And every single phone call from each of those groups was pro-Trump. That tells me that there are a lot of Democrats that feel as though they no longer have a home within the hard left Democrat Party that seems to be rising up and kind of swallowing the blue dogs.
Well, it appears that Hillary's in serious trouble because the A-team at the FBI now is tracking her, and the whole issue of having government documents on a personal server is an issue. How they got there is another issue. Now that they are classified, the very nature of her position is all classified. So she's in serious trouble. And if Biden comes out, connects with Warren, it would seem to me that the president would automatically and quickly endorse the ticket.
I would think so, because, silence is very loud, if you know what I mean. And Barack Obama has been unusually silent when it comes to Hillary, although he did meet with Hillary and Bill when they were in the Hamptons just a couple weeks ago. And after that meeting, he didn't come out and give any sort of support to Hillary. Yet, right after that meeting with the Clintons, he met with Biden and publicly gave Biden his blessing. So, that's what I look for as far as, the noise around the potential of a Biden-Warren ticket. Also after Labor Day, this coming weekend, Biden has invited the top Democrat donors to meet with him. And Biden, prior to the DNC summer convention in Minneapolis, met with Richard Trumka of the AFL-CIO. And the AFL-CIO has not endorsed Hillary. The AFL-CIO is a very strong supporter of the DNC, tens of millions of dollars. I believe they gave up towards $70 million to the election of Barack Obama. So this is good money to be had and a good endorsement to be had, and they certainly aren't endorsing Hillary. Bill de Blasio hasn't even endorsed Hillary, and she and Bill helped de Blasio win New York.
So can Joe win?
It'll be interesting to see if he does throw his hat in the ring. It'll be interesting to see on what exactly he's going to campaign on. He can't say everything's great, let's keep these policies going, when everybody else on the dais of the Democrats saying everything's horrible. So what exactly is he going to say? Is he going to run against Bernie and the progressives? That's why I say the Democrats, the Republicans don't have the problem right now. Trump is not necessarily a problem. When you look at the latest polls, everyone's doing quite well. And the ones that are doing quite well on the GOP ticket are the ones that are not of the political class. They are the outsiders. I will be writing about this later today. It'll be on my blog tonight. So I think a Joe Warren ticket is a strong ticket. But again, what are they going to run on? Are they going to run on perpetuating and just continuing the policies of Barack Obama, which has given us, perhaps by the time he leaves and what's projected, a $22 trillion deficit. We've got an unemployment rate, 93 million people are out of the workforce. 59 million of those are women. Their numbers are bad, no matter how you slice it and dice it. And in 2016, Obamacare really takes hold.
Right.
And you are going to see a lot more people dumped off their insurance. I can't imagine actually what's going to happen in 2016 when it comes to the insured and the uninsured and just the healthcare in general. But it's going to get worse.
All right, let me take a break here, Megan. When we come back, let's go to the other side of the aisle to the R's, because there are some trouble spots over there. And it doesn't appear that he is knowing what to do with Trump. They're not willing to learn from his success. I mean, it's got its messy points, and we'll get into it with Megan Barth. And by the way, her website is reaganbaby.com, and a blog and everything there. I tell you what, she's powerful and well connected, so you may want to check it out. reaganbaby.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
All right, well, excuse me, welcome back. Sorry about that. Megan Barth, our special guest today, founder and proprietor of the reaganbaby.com website, and check out her blog and get connected with her, reaganbaby.com. All right, Megan, let's go to the other side of the aisle just for a moment. The Trump numbers are very impressive and continue to be very solid. I was taken by Mr. Lutz when he was doing some of the surveys, and he kind of came out shocked that these numbers are solid. Frank Lutz, you know him, the pollster there for Fox. But for some reason, the establishment on the Republican side is still threatened by him. Instead of embracing him, it looks like they want to throw some spike strips out in front of him. And the rumor today is it might even be Romney. What do you think?
Well, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You know, when you look at the latest polls, whether the Monmouth poll, actually, that just came out, the greatest rise is of the contenders on the right are those that are not of the Beltway. You have Trump rising. You have Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, who has the largest lead in the largest jump and just tied Trump for the lead. You have Carly Fiorina in third. And you have Ted Cruz, who speaks out against the Washington cabal, in fourth. And then distantly, you have Scott Walker. These margins of their lead are double-digit margins. They aren't slight margins. And notice who I didn't mention in that top 4 or 5. Bush. So the GOP is struck. I think it's dumbstruck. They really don't know what to do. I think they've been tone deaf for so long, and they've believed that people really just want to go along to get along. Well, based on the last November election, I would say they're completely wrong in that estimation. The last November election handed the GOP the largest congressional majority since World War II. And they were handed that majority based on the promises that they gave to the American people, which were to repeal Obamacare, replace it, stop Obama's executive amnesty, and basically stop the spending and the out-of-control spending of Washington, D.C. And the very first thing they did after they were handed that historic election was break every promise they made. So this backlash against the Beltway should be expected Yet they all seem, the Boehners, the McConnells, and the Reince Priebus's, and those within the Beltway, the consultants, the Karl Roves, seem not to want to accept the fact that the American people are speaking, and speaking very loudly once again, and they're not going to, I guess, be fooled once again by the promises made by the establishment. And that's why you see these four folks within the GOP that have been speaking out against the Beltway, that bring a new, maybe fresh idea. They aren't connected politically. They have real world experience. You see these candidates rising, and rising quite quickly, and rising in double-digit numbers.
Well, it's been interesting, to say the least, and you're absolutely right. I was looking at Ben Carson's rise just in the last 3 days has been very impressive. Peggy Noonan wrote and said that the Bush-Clinton dynasty eras are probably over. People don't want that. And with the loss of Bush's numbers now, and in particular his 3 fundraisers, it appears that the establishment wants to use Romney to be the, like I said, the spike strip in front of Trump. I mean, they're not shooting themselves in the foot, they're shooting themselves in the vital organ.
Well, and they're also taking aim at their constituents. You know, these numbers aren't lying. These numbers aren't being pulled from thin air. The voters in majority did not elect Romney, or else he would have won. We had evangelical Christians sit on the side in that election. We had independents sit on the side in that last election. The voters are speaking very loudly right now. And if the GOP cannot beat a woman that's under criminal investigation, if they can't beat a socialist, then I would say that the GOP has their own identity problem and needs to regroup and rethink their strategy. Because right now you have a capitalist that is in the lead for the GOP by the name of Trump. You know, he didn't build a $10 billion industry or brand because he's stupid. You have Dr. Ben Carson, who brings real world experience. He's a diagnostician. He's a brilliant, well-read man who brings a voice and a wisdom to Washington that I haven't seen in quite some time. And then you have Carly Fiorina, who, you know, navigated HP through one of the largest internet implosions and economic downturns within that sector, and who came out shining, and who speaks a very strong message of you know, how to create jobs. We've got 93 million people out of the workforce, 59 million of those are women. The American people aren't looking for the go along to get along strategy again, to reach across the aisles and shake hands with the progressives, because that type of mentality and that type of quid pro quo arrangement within the Beltway has given us a $20 trillion debt and has given us these unemployment numbers. It's not sustainable. So this backlash, like I said, against the GOP is they're either going to learn from it or they are going to lose from it. That is their choice. They are either going to split their party or allow the Democrats to let the Democrats split their party between the conservative blue dogs and the socialists. You know,
it appears, Megan, that Trump's going to go on at this point and continue to have strong numbers with or without whatever the GOP is doing, and that is huge. And but in addition to this, do you think there'll be a wholesale cleaning in Congress because of this low rating? I mean, let's face it, Boehner, McDonnell, they have done nothing to push back on Obama. I would think that Boehner was vulnerable.
I would think so too, and you just reminded me of another poll, the Quinnipiac poll. If you take the Monmouth poll of those four that I had mentioned, Trump through Cruz, 65%. It adds up to a collective 65% of the voters are looking outside the Beltway. Then you compare that to the Quinnipiac poll, where 71% of all Americans are not happy with the state of the country right now. This is an opportunity for the GOP to capitalize on, and yet they're still looking for Romney. Trump is a train that in my estimation, is going to be very hard to stop. The only person that's going to be able to trip up Trump is Trump. As soon as he apologizes for something, in my opinion, that's when his numbers are going to fall. If Warren and Biden come out together as a ticket, I believe it's going to force the GOP into securing their nominee and a little bit earlier, getting behind their nominee a little bit earlier with a vice presidential nominee ticket. So, they're kind of fighting on equal playing grounds. What's also interesting, Perry, in that Monmouth poll is that conservatives that consider themselves, more conservative or ultra conservative, pick Trump over Cruz. And you can't really say that Trump is a true blue, hardcore, evangelical conservative. You could say that about Cruz, but yet the hardcore conservatives on the right are still choosing Trump over Cruz.
I think the message that he's radiating here is, I'm going to get things done, because let's face it, Washington's stuck, and he's going to unstick it. I mean, that's the feeling you get.
Well, right. I mean, for 30 years, we've been talking about building a wall. We still don't have a wall. Yeah. Supposedly, there was appropriated money for the wall under the Bush administration for the wall to be built. It's still not built. Where's that money? The American people aren't stupid. But some of us are more political dogs than others. But when people are hurting, they pay attention and they start really listening. You can't tell me that the GOP with Bush would have driven 24 million people to that first debate at Fox News. He simply does not have that much charisma. If he did, he would be leading in the polls, or at least in contention. He wouldn't be losing fundraisers. So yeah, the American people want things done. They want a strong country. They want a safe country. It's very basic. And if we are a country without borders, we are no longer a country. If we're a country without laws, we are no longer a country. If we're not going to uphold the law and the will of the American people, then there is a problem with government, where the government is no longer working for the people, it's working for its own best interests. And that's why I think you see this rise of Trump, because he's saying, look, I'm not beholden to anybody. I don't even have political consultants. I don't want anybody's money, but I'm going to get things done.
Yeah, it's resonating very well. I got about 2 minutes left. Let me ask you this, Megan. Dr. Ben Carson, amazing. I've had him on the show on several occasions. He is just an incredible guy, and some of his responses to the questions has just been over-the-top common sense. He's seriously a contender. I don't know if he can outdo Trump, but he's certainly right up there. Do you think it's possible for a Trump-Carson ticket?
I think it's possible. However, I think it would be more possible for a Trump-Cruz ticket.
You're going to see that in Washington this coming week, right? Or next week?
That's right. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. They're doing something together against the Iran deal in D.C. I see that more as a possibility.
Okay.
Because then you'll have some legislative experience, which Trump and Carson wouldn't bring to the table. You'd have two political outsiders, which might give a lot of people heartburn, because we know you got to get things done in Washington, and you have to have some sort of insight in how to get things done legislatively. And so I would think a Trump-Cruz ticket would be more likely. But there is a place for Carson in D.C., as I believe there is a place for Fiorina in D.C. Look, I'm very happy when I look at the GOP candidates. I think that there's a lot of strong people on our side. So we don't need Romney, to
Hey, thank you. You're a delight to have, and look forward to continuing this conversation over this next year or so. So keep up the good work. Again, it's ReaganBaby.com, where you can check in with Megan and all the things she does, and stay on top of it, because she's well connected. Thank you, my friends. Keep up the good work, okay?
Thanks, Perry, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Again, that's ReaganBaby.com, and believe me, you'll find that to be a tremendous resource. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.